All right, so we're going to keep moving on point slope form. Now we're going to look at what happens when we're given 2 points. So each time we kind of get this equation that makes our life a little easier, and then we get thrown this little wrench that, okay, well, what do I do in this situation? So write an equation in point slope. We need the point and the slope, right? We just learned that, and we can review that. Here's point slope formula. We have, oops, dang it, y minus y1 equals m times the difference of x and x1. So remember, this is the x and y coordinate that they give us, and then the slope that they give us. So in the last video, they nicely gave us both of these things. So if 2 points have been given, we need to find the slope using the slope formula. So I need to know what that slope is. So then we choose one of the 2 points in the equation. So with this one, calculating slope, so to review the slope formula here, we have rise over run, which is, it's the change in y over the change in x. So we think it's the steepness of the line, right? That's just the main idea here. Mathematically, what do? Well, I take my y coordinates and I subtract, and I take my x coordinates and I subtract. And usually we end up with a fraction. Sometimes we end up with a whole number, but if you end up with a whole number, it just means that your run, which is on the bottom, is going to be a 1. And we have the 2 points. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. The 1s here and the 2s here just refer to which point it belongs to. So it's literally the x and y coordinate of point 1, the x and y coordinate of point 2. That's all the 1 and the 2 mean. All right, so let's go ahead and practice this so that we can see it. So it says find an equation for the line that passes through points -3, and 1, 3. So first, we're going to identify what's given. Well, we were given x1, y1, and x2, y2. So we were given our x and y coordinates for 2 points. I need a point and I need a slope in order to use this equation. 1 point, 1 slope. So we're going to make a plan. Well, since I know what I need, I'm going to use the slope formula to find slope. That's going to be my plan. So here's my slope formula. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to start filling it in, and I'm going to use this guy. So y2, well, my y2 is 3, and my y1, if it'll circle it, is -3. So if you notice, I did 3 minus, because that's part of the equation. I have to have that minus there. So it's going to be 3 minus -3. Some of these are bolded and some aren't. I'll have to fix the formatting on that once I'm done with this. Then we're going to go to the x's, because we're going to do the bottom. x2, that's 1. And it's minus x1, which is -3. So I have another -3 here. So it's 3 minus -3. That's going to be 3 plus 3. That's why that ends up 6, because minus negative turns into a plus. Same thing on the bottom. 1 minus -3 is really 1 plus 3, so it's going to go 4. Well, 6 over 4, I can reduce this. So whenever they can divide by the same number, they're both even, so they can divide by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Not reducing it is not wrong, but a lot of the time Alex is going to expect it to be reduced. You're not going to want to leave it 6 over 4. You're going to want to reduce it to 3 over 2, so that it's as kind of the simplest form that we can get to. All right, so we have our slope, and I have 2 points. That's 1 too many. I only need 1 point to write it into this equation. So I'm just going to choose one of the 2 points. It does not matter which one of the 2 you choose. So you're just going to choose one, and I decided to choose the second one for whatever reason. Doesn't really matter. I could have done the first one, I could have done the second one. So I decided to choose point 2. So I have y1 is 3. I found my slope, which is 3/2, and my y1, my x2, I'm saying that funny, is 1. So that is my equation that passes through the line in point slope form. It just says find an equation, so this is actually a little bit more open to interpretation. You could have written it in slope intercept form. You could have written it in standard form. There's 3 different forms of a line. So you can choose which form you'd like to write it in. Since this is the simplest one to write it in, this is where I'm going to stay. All right, so we're going to look at graphing, or writing it from a graph. So find an equation for the line below. So with this one, we're given similar information to this last one. The only difference is they didn't tell me specifically what the coordinates are. They're showing me what the coordinates are. So first task is let's grab those coordinates. So what are the coordinates of the 2 points? So I have -4 and -3 with this one. So remember, you go right or left first. So it's -4, and then I go down, -3. And the second point, ooh, that's going really fast, is -6, or +6, sorry, we went right, +6 and -5. So I can see my points here. Again, there's weird bolding happening here. So now that I've identified what's given to me, even though it was visually given, it was still given. So now I'm going to make a plan. So I'm going to find slope. I can either use the formula or I could do this visually, because I can go rise over run right here on the graph, or I can use my slope, my actual formula here. It's totally up to you, whichever method you prefer. So I think I'm going to go through and I'm going to do it on here. So I have y2, which is -5, minus y1, which is -3. And then I have y2 minus y1. So 6 minus -4. Remember, minus negative, these are going to become plus. So this is really -5 plus 3. That's why I get -2. 6 plus 4, I get 10. We can reduce again. 2 and 10 are both even. They can at least divide by 2. So if I divide by 2, oh dang it, it disappeared again. -2 divided by 2 is -1. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So I have my slope. Now if I looked at this, I could go down 1, 2. So I got that -2. And then I can go over, if I counted, I would get 10. So I get that 10. So with this one, from point to point for the slope, I get the unsimplified or the unreduced version, and I still want to reduce it. And if I tested that out, if I went down 1 and then went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, look at that, I land right on top of the line, which is, they're just not showing me that point. That's not one of the given points here that they've pointed out. All right, so now, since it just says find an equation, I can write it in whichever form is the easiest form, which in this case I think is point slope. Since I have 2 points and a slope, I'm just going to choose one of my points. Doesn't matter which one. So again, I'm choosing point 2 for whatever reason. I'm sticking with point 2. And I'm just going to plug in x, y, and m. So here I have y minus -5 equals -1/5. That's the slope we just found. And then x minus x1, which is 6. So I plugged it in, and then if you notice, another one popped up here. Because minus negative, I need to fix that. Alex will not let me type in minus negative. I need to simplify that part of the equation so that it's that plus sign there. All right, so that was writing an equation in point slope given 2 points, given the points outright and given the points on a graph. So I hope that helped, and I will see you in the next video.